First thing you say is, hi, my name's Chris and I'm an addict, or hi, my name's Chris and I'm an alcoholic. When I was young, I hated myself. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I was living in like a constant state of irritability, restlessness. I was discontent. Once I got started drinking and using the hard drugs when I was 19 years old, it quieted my mind. It gave me comfort. Basically, it became my solution for all my problems that I had early on in life. I was still in denial about how severe my problem was. And once I realized I had a problem and I should probably do something about it and call it quits, I was unable to. And that's when I knew I was in trouble. It's basically just living in chaos and insanity. If I can sum up addiction in one word, it's insanity. I know I'm becoming a bad person. I'm harming myself. I know it's detrimental to my health, my finances, but I keep doing it over and over again. You know, I'd have a couple days without drinking or without using drugs. I just became irritable again, and I didn't know how to face that. I would just use. It would just happen. I could not control it. It was no longer a choice. I had lost the ability to choose. It just takes over. I always woke up hungry. I always woke up in fear. I was in a state of drug-induced psychosis. That voice in my head, that addiction, that inability to choose took over. I would end up at the bar and I would drink. You know, I'd contact my dealer and I'd say just a little bit today. I'd end up closing the bar down. I always found another place to go because I never wanted to call it quits. I would continue using until I ran out and eventually pass out. And then I would continue that cycle, day in, day out, day in, day out. That was my life for over 20 years. All I wanted was to silence my mind. And the only way I knew how was substances, alcohol and drugs. You know, I had a lot of people that I knew, but I never felt like I had friends. I was always alone in a crowd of people everywhere I went. I was homeless off and on for 20 years. I couch surfed. I slept at anybody's house who I partied at. Took advantage of people for a place to stay for a long time. Off and on, I lived in shelters. I would get myself out of the shelter system. I'd finally get a job, get some money in my pocket, get a place to live. And then within a month or two, I'd mess that all up and I'd be homeless. So I'd find places to sleep, local parks. Surprisingly, it wasn't scary for me. It was more of a shame feeling. I wanted you to believe what I wanted you to believe about me. If you knew I was homeless during these times, sleeping on the streets, then you'd actually know me for who I am. And I couldn't have that. During my relapse, I felt like I was alone. I was full of shame. I didn't want to reach out. I didn't want to be honest. My alcoholism, my depression, and my addict brain was convincing me, you're not enough. Don't face the consequences head on, and don't do the work it's going to take. Just die, take the easy way out. I began writing a list of people in my phone, people to say goodbye to. You know, I went out like a regular night, drank heavily, used drugs heavily. I wanted to be extra messed up. On the morning of March the 6th, that was pretty much my bottom. Something told me, just pray. And I did that. It was the first time I prayed in my entire life. Prayed for another chance, another shot at sobriety. I knew I needed it, and this time I was willing to do what it took. I don't know what I was expecting to feel or hear. And a few moments later, I made the decision to take my life. I woke up in the hospital. I felt like the obsession had already been removed. I felt like something was different inside of me, in my thinking, in my soul, and I had been given that chance I had prayed for because I meant it. I was honest about it. That was the beginning of my sobriety journey, and I believe the first time I had a spiritual awakening. It was the first of many. I decided to buy my first camera in 2021. Saw the images and the quality, and it made me fall in love with photography. When I'm out photographing wildlife, I think that there's a big spiritual aspect to nature. It allows me to be calm. I can be thankful for the things that I have. And I find myself doing that and practicing that when I'm out with my camera in like a beautiful setting, nice, quiet, serene. I used to concentrate solely on cityscape photos, but there's only so many places in Toronto I can photograph. I still feel like I'm being creative. Winter Wonderland in the 6. That photo took me a long time to capture. I was standing in the active right-hand turn lane and it was snowing. Wait until the number changed to 6 and I would just lay on my shutter and take as many photos as I could. I woke up the next morning. I looked at my Instagram. There was multiple Instagram pages that had reposted that photo. And I thought, oh my gosh, like this photo's blowing up. I believe that was the beginning of a new addiction, that validation through social media. So I found myself posting, and then if I didn't get that amount of likes, I would actually delete the photo, wait a week or two, and repost it again. And I believe that that was like the gauge of how good my photographs were. You know, it became like unhealthy for me. Life's not perfect. There's some days where I'm, again, irritable, I'm restless, I'm discontent. I didn't know how to live life without drowning it out with substances. Everything I do now, all the work I do on myself day to day, helps me face those challenges. It allows me to live life, whether it be a high from being super happy or an extreme low. I'm learning how to deal with it without having to drown it out. The only thing that I find that can keep me sober is a spiritual way of life. And I practice being spiritual day in and day out now.
I've been cutting Chris's hair since the barbershop was on the Danforth, which is probably about, I'd say, anywhere from 2006 to 2008, around there. Long time. Came to get his haircut and never left.
Yeah, right? This place became home.
He's been coming for a long time. He's basically part of the family. That shot doesn't even exist no more. Yeah, there's a building right there. If you look closely, they're building the building right now, and the building they built blocked the whole view. Look at the CN Tower. Look at the tower just busting through it. That's home. With all the madness around it.
So that time of year and that time of day, I kind of knew where the sun was going to be. And I think I waited around that courtyard for about 2 hours.
Because this little moment we have right here between the two of us can get and is quite personal. It's like we went through teenagers together and became men. Like, it's been a long time. So we've been through a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of heartbreaks, a lot of positives. We're still here today, and we can still do it, still talk about it, still laugh about it. We've developed a friendship that I think is gonna last us a lifetime.
100%. You know, and Panthers also see me like at my worst, my bottom of my life, right? Like, even like the addiction aspect, I come around every now and again. And so like Panther and Peter, Michelle, the Cutler family, they've seen me at moments of like wellness and growth down to like the bottom and then back up to like that growth again.
He is quite a special individual for sure. If we had half the humans on the world that had an attitude like this guy, we wouldn't have problems. Life would be good.
Yeah, always like that.
Yeah, but you know, if you didn't go through what you went through, you wouldn't end up like this, right? Everything happens for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't go through all the struggles and the hardships, you wouldn't end up to be this nice person you are right now. Very genuine, sincere guy. And this stuff that we had now, I wouldn't want to see him any other way. Best version of him I've seen so far.
In the world of recovery, they explain that it can happen at once or it can happen over time. Other people will see it first in us before we see it.
Once he made his mind up, it was over. There wasn't a lot of going back and forth. It was just, I'm done, I'm doing this, and this is it. And that takes a lot.
They say the opposite of addiction is connection. And the reason why we felt the way we did is because we didn't have those healthy connections and we were turning to substances to fill that void. And I think those relationships as a whole are super important to me because it allows me to grow with other people that are also growing with me. You become what your environment is. If I'm not surrounding myself in healthy relationships, then I'm just staying stagnant in life.
So right now I'm a full-time student at Centennial College. I'm enrolled in the Addictions and Mental Health course. I feel with my experience in life, with my addiction, I can really help people. If I was going to leave a message to the viewers, it's not your fault. No matter what it is, the consequences are not enough to keep you from deserving a good life. Everybody's worth it. You're worth it. No matter how far down the scale you've gone, there's always people there willing to help.